Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. It started with a knock on my window. I live on the 3rd floor. No balcony, no fire escape, just a straight drop to the pavement below. So when I heard that soft, rhythmic tapping at 2 a.m., my body locked up with fear. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe the wind, a tree branch. But then I remembered, there's no tree outside my window. Just empty space. Tap, tap, tap. A slow, deliberate rhythm. I held my breath, every muscle in my body tight. I was lying in bed, facing the wall, my back to the window. A stupid instinct told me if I didn't move, it would stop. But it didn't. Tap, tap, tap. It was closer now. Not frantic, not demanding, just patient. I swallowed, feeling the dry lump in my throat. My phone was charging on the nightstand, but I didn't dare reach for it. Instead, I turned my head just a little, just enough to see, and my blood turned to ice. Because in the reflection of the glass, I saw him. Not outside, inside. A man, standing just behind me. His face was pale, his eyes black holes in the dim glow of the streetlight. His mouth hung open, lips cracked and dry. He didn't move. Just stood there, staring at me in the reflection. My breath hitched. I spun around, the sheets tangling around my legs, my fingers scrambling for anything. My phone, a lamp, something to fight with. But the room was empty. The closet door, slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness. I couldn't breathe. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone and called 911, whispering to the dispatcher that someone had broken into my apartment. I kept my eyes locked on that closet door. The silence in the room was so heavy it felt like it was pressing down on my chest. When the police arrived, they tore through my apartment, checked every closet, under the bed, even the tiny crawl space in the bathroom ceiling. Nothing. No forced entry. No footprints. No signs of anyone being inside. "Are you sure you didn't dream it?" one officer asked. I almost started to believe that. Maybe I was just exhausted. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. And then they found the window. "Come look at this," another officer called. His flashlight beam hovered over something faint on the glass. I stepped closer, my stomach twisting. Fingerprints. Faint, greasy smudges. Someone had pressed their hands against the inside of my window. The officers exchanged looks. One of them turned back to me. "Could you have touched this earlier?" I shook my head, my heart hammering. They were too high for me to have made them. The cops stayed for another hour, but when nothing turned up, they left. "Call us if anything else happens," they said, and then I was alone again. I barely slept that night. Every shadow felt like it was stretching toward me. Every creak in the floor made me hold my breath. But the worst part, the next night, it happened again. Tap, tap, tap. I bolted upright, my body rigid with fear. My phone was already in my hand this time. My mind screamed at me not to turn around, but I did. The reflection was there. The same man. The same hollow eyes. Only this time, he was closer. I saw his mouth move. Just a little. No sound came out. But I swear I could read his lips. "Let me in." I threw my blankets over my head, heart pounding, fingers numb as I dialed 911 again. By the time the cops arrived, the reflection was gone. The window was clean. No fingerprints this time. No proof. They didn't believe me. But I knew what I saw. And every night since, I've slept with the closet door shut and my back pressed against the wall. Because I know he's still there, waiting. And sooner or later, he won't just be a reflection. Story 2. I never noticed him at first. I worked a late shift at a diner. Nothing fancy, just a greasy little spot off the main road where truckers and night owls come for bad coffee and cold fries. My walk home takes me down a quiet street, the kind where the street lights hum and flicker, where every sound feels bigger in the dark. It's not a bad neighborhood, but it's the kind of place where you keep your head down and don't linger. I've been making that walk for years. The same route, the same tired shuffle of my feet against the pavement, the same long shadow stretching out in front of me under the orange glow of the streetlights. But one night, something changed. It was subtle at first, so subtle I almost missed it. My shadow moved as I moved, just like always. But there was something else. A second shadow. It lagged just a little behind mine, moving when I did, but not exactly in sync. A fraction of a second too slow, like a bad reflection in an old mirror. I stopped walking. For a moment, everything was still. The world felt thick with silence. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, from somewhere behind me, I heard a footstep. Just one. I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs. But the street was empty. The building stood still and lifeless. There was no one there. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe my mind playing tricks on me. Maybe I was just tired. But the next night, it happened again. The shadow, the lag, that sick, crawling feeling at the back of my neck like unseen fingers brushing against my skin. This time I didn't stop. I walked faster, my pulse quickening with every step. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid, but deep down, I knew. Someone was watching me. The next night, I tried something different. As I turned onto my street, I slowed down, made my steps deliberate. Listen, the night was quiet, no footsteps but mine. But then, when I reached the halfway point, I felt it. The weight of eyes, the slow creep of something unseen pressing down on me. I stopped, and this time, so did the shadow. I didn't hear anything at first. No footsteps, no rustling of clothes, just silence. And then, breathe in, somewhere behind me, the sound of someone inhaling. Slow, deep, like they were standing right at my back. I ran. I ran faster than I ever had in my life, my shoes slamming against the pavement. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, but I didn't dare look back. I didn't stop until I reached my apartment. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the lock. I stumbled inside, slammed the door, and locked it. Then I stood there, gasping, waiting. Nothing. The peephole showed only an empty hallway. No shadow, no breath, just my own reflection, wide-eyed and terrified. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up in bed, every creak of the old building sending fresh waves of fear through me. I told myself it was just my imagination. That's what fear does. It plays with your mind. But then, in the morning, when I finally worked up the courage to leave for work, I saw it. A piece of paper taped to my front door. 3 words, written in shaky, uneven handwriting. I saw you. I moved out the next week. I never took that route again. Never walked alone at night. But sometimes, when the lights are low, when I catch a glimpse of my shadow stretching across the floor, I swear I see another one, just a little behind, just a little too slow. Story 3. The first letter was harmless, just a single sheet of paper, neatly folded, tucked inside my mailbox. No envelope, no name, no return address, just a few words, written in careful, almost delicate handwriting. You look pretty today. I remember smiling at it. It was strange, sure, but I guess a part of me was flattered. I had been single for a while, and the idea of some secret admirer watching from afar, well, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I figured it was a coworker, maybe someone from the grocery store or the coffee shop down the street. Someone who saw me in passing, too shy to say something in person. It didn't scare me, not at first, but then the second letter came. You shouldn't leave your blinds open at night. That one unsettled me. It was waiting in my mailbox, just like before. No envelope, no name. But this time, I felt something cold in my stomach when I read it, because I had left my blinds open the night before. I had been sitting on my couch, scrolling through my phone, absently watching TV. I lived alone, and my apartment was on the second floor. The street outside was usually quiet, just a few parked cars, the occasional pedestrian. I try to remember, had I noticed anyone out there? Had I seen a figure lingering beneath the street lamp, a shadow behind the bushes? I told myself it was a prank, maybe one of my friends messing with me. I even texted a couple of them, but everyone denied it. That night, I closed my blinds. Then the third letter arrived. I know what you had for dinner. I felt my hands go clammy as I read it, because last night, I had eaten Chinese takeout, alone, on my couch, with the blinds closed. My first thought was that someone had gotten inside my apartment, that they had hidden somewhere, behind the shower curtain, under the bed, in the closet, and waited, just watching me. I tore through my place like a madwoman. I checked under every piece of furniture, inside every cabinet, every drawer. Nothing. The doors were locked. The windows, too. Still, I barely slept. The next morning, I called the police. They didn't take me seriously. Probably just someone messing with you, the officer said. If it escalates, let us know. I hung up, frustrated, but tried to convince myself they were right. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe someone at the restaurant had seen me picking up my food and thought it would be funny to mess with me. Then the fourth letter came. This time, it wasn't just words. It was a picture, a grainy, black and white photograph. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at. The angle was strange, close up, like it had been taken from just a few feet away. Then my stomach dropped. It was me, sleeping. I could see the curve of my shoulder, my hair spread across the pillow, the blankets half pulled down, just like I had left them. I don't remember screaming, but my throat was raw afterward. I packed a bag and left within an hour. I didn't even bother locking the door behind me. I just got in my car and drove. I never checked the mailbox again.